Ladies and gentlemen, Hebrews and Shebrews, welcome to the Life Podcast, where we inspire you to thrive as peculiar people in a modern world. And today we're doing that by talking to Matthew Hampton. He is a canine trainer whose dogs can suss out bombs and explosive devices and drugs. But then he starts learning about obedience as he is training his dogs to obey him. He starts learning about the law and how that could be connected to his law for his dogs. If you haven't joined wholebiblecommunity.com and your small group is still using a smattering of Facebook Messenger, Signal, Google Maps, and whatever else, email, the old email, this is a good time because wholebiblecommunity.com has now released an app. It is here to solve all your communication issues in one place. You can text, message people via this app. You can video call people in this app. What this pragmatically means is that you can do all your communication with new visitors within the Whole Bible Community app now. So you don't have to give them any information you don't want them to have, like your personal number or email. You can communicate on the platform until you vet them, until you see that they are not some psychopath. And so once you prove that they're not a psychopath, then you can meet up with them and you can visit and invite them to your Shabbat group, etc., etc., etc. And that's why Matthew Martin made Whole Bible Community, is to give tools to people in this movement to help make it operate smoothly. That's the point of wholebiblecommunity.com, and that's been leveled up with this new app that just came out. So go check it out. You can get it on the App Store. You can get it on the Google Play Store. So go to wholebiblecommunity.com, get the app, friend me on there, connect with me, tell me about yourself. If you like what we're doing, please share this video, subscribe to this channel, tell people about the Life Podcast if you think they would like it as well. Have you ever wanted to have a Torah observant hero in the shows that you watch? Is that a crazy idea? I don't know, but we're making it at the Life Network. Go to watchthelife.com and find entertainment that you don't have to vet before you show it to your kids. You don't have to cover their eyes before you look at the thumbnails on the site. We're making a bunch of different shows there. Start watching for free and join us. So without further ado, I give you Matt. Matt, welcome to the Life Podcast. Thank you for being here. And thank you for being here in person, man. I want to thank everyone who makes the trip out here because it levels up the podcast.
Yeah.
I think it's totally worth it.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be able to meet you, spend time with you, get to know you.
Well, then let's jump right into your story. Okay. Tell us about Matthew Hampton. Tell us how you got here. Tell us how you got saved and how you came into the Torah, if you will.
I'll start back at the beginning. So I grew up, I'm California raised and bred, born in San Diego, to be more specific, Riverside, California. My dad was working for Costco. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and my dad got a job offer to work for Costco in Northern California. So we were going up and down the state of California the entire time. It wasn't until about junior high school is when I started getting into youth group. And we'd go to church every Sunday. My parents would go to main service. I'd go to youth group, and it was just cheap. It was go to hang out with friends and talk to girls and play basketball. My parents were starting to have difficulty in their relationship, and in that difficulty, me and my brother started to wander. and there was no, like, our parents were married, but there was no like, hey, this is the standard that you have to keep. This is the rules of the household. It kind of just was just like, hey, do whatever you want and don't get in trouble and don't get caught. And so my parents' relationship started to deteriorate. And as it was deteriorating, me and my brother were going in completely different directions. And 2013 came, and my parents got divorced, and my brother went to go live with my dad, and I stayed and lived with my mom.
How old are you guys at this point, or how old are you at least?
There's some traumas that we can kind of get into, but I don't want to go too deep. I still want to honor my parents. But there's a lot of memories of my childhood that I don't even remember or recollect. I don't remember a lot of it up until maybe 15, 16, 17. So parents get divorced. My brother chooses my dad. I choose to stay with my mom, and that's where a lot of fighting between us happened. My dad, he didn't put blame on anybody, and my mom didn't put blame on him, but it was me and my brother that were blaming the other parent. And I can't 100% confirm the divorce was infidelity because it was never actually proven. But there was some questionable actions that were taking place on my dad's side. And so I blamed my dad for him being unfaithful. And then my brother would blame my mom for it being her fault because she wasn't paying enough attention to my dad. And it started this whole battle that is this whole disagreement, this whole severed relationship with my brother has lasted up until this point. And through my parents' pain, I went to find someone to comfort me. And that turned into one of the most toxic relationships I've ever had, and I'm still suffering the consequences of that relationship. And that's when I met my first wife. I'm living with this girl. We're not married yet. We're just boyfriend and girlfriend. Mercedes. We're still living together. And she comes to me and she tells me she's pregnant. And I was like, oh my gosh. Okay. The first thing I thought was, I can't be in a relationship with you. And I'm not ready to be a dad yet. I'm not ready for any of this. And we kept going through these periods of break up, get back together, break up, get back together, break up, get back together, which should have been like the key sign, like, hey, stupid, Yeah. So she comes to me, she tells me she's pregnant, and I start freaking out. We separate, and I'm starting to get my ducks in a row. And I was like, okay, you know what? I need to provide for her. I need to provide for the child. I need to provide for my son or daughter. And I go talk to a recruiter, and from a little kid or a young teen, I always wanted to be in the military. And what better time to accept the responsibility and join the military and be able to provide for somebody. And so I went to a Navy recruiter, told them the situation, and I shipped out for boot camp. And in Bangor, Washington, I was doing nuclear weapons security. And my relationship is starting to fall apart again. And I don't know why. It's crumbling before my eyes, and I can't figure out why. I'm doing everything that everyone else does. Go to work, get a job, provide for the family, and do your best to love your spouse. And my relationship is crumbling before my eyes. Meanwhile, I'm having to, keep myself within military regulation and not be that nail that sticks out. Because if you're a nail that sticks out in the military, you're getting smashed. And this pressure just keeps building and keeps building and keeps building. And she decides that she's going to go back to California to visit her grandparents, and she's going to take the kids with her. Or both kids, her son and then my son. So she takes the kids and she goes back to California. And through the grapevine of her mother, I found out that she was sleeping with another guy that she was dating in California. And I found that out, and I went to my chain of command, and I was like, hey, sir, look, this is what's going on. I need out of this relationship. I need to be done with this. I can't deal with it and be an effective military of the United States Navy. And he says, okay, here's what we're going to do. XYZ, you're going to file for divorce here in Washington State. Washington State is not at fault. So it'll just be easy, and you have her served with divorce papers, and you can have her served when she gets back. She called base housing assistance and told them that I was mentally and emotionally and physically abusing her and my own son. And so that kicks certain procedures into effect. So with that claim, now NCIS is contacted, and they have to do a 90-day mandatory investigation of all parties involved and all parties who know the accused party. So I go back home, and I have an escort with me, and we go in. He goes into the house first, verifies that, I'm returning back to my house. And he comes back out and he's like, this is going to be a rough one. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, come on in. And I go into my house, everything's gone. There's nothing. My entire house was cleaned out. And speaking to some of my neighbors, the gentleman that she was sleeping with in California came up to Washington State, and she got him on base, which she's not authorized to do, so I don't know how that happened. And they cleaned out the entire house, took everything. I wasn't allowed to say goodbye to my son. And to this day, the last time that I saw him was physically in person. The last time that I saw him was August of 2018. So that's the last time that I physically touched and held my son.
How old is he?
He's turning 11, 2026.
This episode of the Life Podcast is sponsored by Dr. Daryl Carr's Restore Your Brain e-course. If you've been dealing with brain fog, poor sleep, anxiety, low focus, memory issues, or if your brain just isn't functioning the way it's supposed to anymore, you may want to consider Daryl Carr's Restore Your Brain course. It was created to help you understand what may be going on inside your head and then help you fix it. So his 7-step online course does a brain assessment, and then it talks about movement and activation of your brain. It talks about sleep, blood sugar, oxygen, neuroinflammation, neurotransmitters, the gut-brain connection, stress, neuroplasticity, and mind renewal. It's a practical, natural health roadmap for anyone who wants better support brain function instead of just pushing through this ongoing and growing fog. Go to Daryl Carr, DarrellCarr.com/restore your brain and put in code the Life Podcast for 30% off this course. It comes out May 31st. You can pre-order it before that. And if it's after that date, you can just order it. I've checked it out. I've checked out the videos. Dr. Carr knows a lot about the body and the brain. And so he's going to give you this download. It may be more information than you can even understand or absorb, but you are going to fully understand what's going on in your brain, and you're going to likely be able to fix it. So check out Dr. Carr's Restore Your Brain course. Go to DarrellCarr.com/restore your brain. Put in code the Life Podcast and get 30% off. What'd you do from that point?
I did what the Navy instilled in me in boot camp. It's a stupid answer, but adapt, overcome, and move on. There's literally nothing I can do. She's gone already. And I kept telling myself, if I sit and stew on this, I'm just going to drive myself deeper into a depression, deeper into wherever that feeling leads, wherever that rabbit hole leads. And at that moment, at that time, base police came back to my house, and there were 2 firearms that were in the house that were mine. She left those because if she would have taken those, it would have been illegal. So they came into my house, took my firearms out of my house, and seized my firearms.
Why did that happen? Why were they even notified?
Because they were worried about me committing suicide.
Oh, okay.
And since this whole event took place, I had been put into a suicide watch. And there's different levels of it, so I would have to check in with somebody every X amount of hours.
Did you ask
hey, I'm still
for
alive?
this?
No.
This just was because they knew the situation. They're like, oh, she left and took everything. He probably wants to kill himself.
Yes. So, they have protocols that they need to follow just because of past lessons that they've had to unfortunately learn. Okay. And I would expressly tell them, I'm not going to do it. I want to be around for my son later. I want to live my life. I want to finish my career in the Navy, and didn't even listen to any of that. So because of that event that took place, I got put in what's called a PAD division. And a PAD division is an acronym for Personnel Awaiting Displacement. So because of the events that had transpired, they were concerned about my mental health and that being a crutch for an unknown entity gaining access to nuclear weapons through me. So I was immediately removed from that chain of command, and I was awaiting orders for another duty station. So, and well, what is a Navy guy going to do when he has nothing better to do? He can't do his job. He's going to go out to bars, drink, hook up with girls, do what he wants, and make the best of it. And so I hopped on all the dating apps. That's where I saw a picture of this woman, and I was like, she's kind of cute. And I wasted my one super, or used my one super, I better correct that. I used my one super like on this girl, and her name was Sierra. And we set up a date. She pulls up in this 1996 green Honda Civic. And I won't forget it. I'll always remember it. I'm wearing a green long sleeve flannel. And I see her little green car pull off the ferry and go and park in the extra parking. And I start walking over to her. And she gets out of the car and she's wearing a green cardigan. Same exact color green. And I said hi, introduced myself. I gave her a hug. She gave me a hug. And it was like one of those best hugs that I've gotten from someone after everything that I've been through. And that was my second wife. That's the first date in Washington with my now wife.
That's great.
Sierra.
So did things look up from that point on? Was that the sea change in your life, or what happened?
Yeah, that was the change. And she told me she was a Christian, and I was like, hey, you know what? I'm a Christian too. I go to church, you know. But we were going out to clubs, you know, doing all the things that you're not supposed to do as a Christian. But hey, we're Christian. We're okay. So fast forward a couple of months, and she's living with me and all of my friends, some who are married. So we went out in town and we rented like a 4-bedroom house, and Navy sailors and Marines are living in it. We're having friends over all the time. We're having parties. And I get orders to Norfolk, Virginia. And I look at her and I said, I have orders to Norfolk, Virginia. Do you want to come with? So she says yes. So I get out to Norfolk. I'm stationed on an aircraft carrier. And I was like, dude, this is going to be awesome. I'm an aircraft carrier. We're going to deploy. I'm going to do Navy stuff. Get there. Hey, the aircraft carrier's going into dry dock. I was like, are you serious? Like, we're not deploying? They're like, no, we just got back from deployment. So now we're going to pull the boat up and out of the water. And we're going to make repairs and renovations. So I was like, how long is that going to take? And they were like, oh, it's probably going to take like 7 years. And at this time, my relationship with Sierra, we're not married at this time. My relationship with Sierra is starting to crumble and fall apart, just like my relationship with my ex. And I was like, I can't figure out why this is happening again. Why is this falling apart again? And I remember sitting down in a parking lot with her one time. We were just sitting there, and I was exhausted because our work rotation was 12-hour shifts, 3-2-2-3 schedule. So you work 3 days, you're off 2, you're on 3, then you're off 2. And it was just a constant rotating schedule of 12-hour shifts. And I look at her and I was like, Turbo, you're not allowed to be unhappy, because like if you're unhappy, then I have nothing to be happy about. Like, you are my happiness. You are my joy. And she looks at me and she says, that's too much for me to handle. She's like, I can't do that. And that was a hard thing for me to hear. And she's going to church. I'm working on Sundays, and I'm starting to get to the point where I can't fall asleep anymore. I can't fall asleep. So I turned to alcohol. I turned to whiskey, and it got bad. I would literally, depending on what shift I was working, if I was working night shift, I would leave my house an extra half hour early, pick up a bottle on the way to work, do my shift, complete my job, and I would literally get back in my car, hightail it home as fast as I could, and at 6 o'clock in the morning, four or five glasses in, while she's getting ready to go to work, and she was working at Chick-fil-A, and then I would pass out just from being drunk, and then I would wake up the next that afternoon at 4 p.m. go to work, hungover, alcohol on my breath, and I'm carrying a rifle and a pistol on my hip. And the Navy has a no tolerance policy. So if you're intoxicated on duty, you're going straight up to mast. You're like, big no, big trouble. And if you're doing it while carrying a firearm, you're getting kicked out. So I went on with that pattern for almost a year and a half. And my relationship is continuing to crumble and fall apart. And meanwhile, she's continuing to go to church. And I remember it was on a day off, I was drinking, and we're sitting on the couch watching a movie, and she just gets up randomly, and she goes into the bedroom. I was like, "What are you doing? Like, get back here and sit down and watch the movie with me." She's like, "No, I need to go in the bedroom. Leave me alone." I was like, "Okay." And she's in the bedroom about a half an hour, and she comes back out, and she is sobbing. And I can't figure, like, what's going on? Tell me what's going on. Like, why are you crying? And she just kind of tells me, like, don't worry about it. I'm fine. Don't worry about it. I was like, okay, whatever. And just went back to drinking. And it wasn't until a couple of weeks later that she tells me, she pulls me aside, and she says, in the bedroom, I had an encounter with God, and he revealed to me that I've been lukewarm for the past couple of years now. And he asked me a question, and he said, "Whom do you serve?" And she chose to serve him. And she looks at me and she says, "We're unevenly yoked, and I can't be with you anymore." So I move out. She moves back in, and I'm working night shift, and I'm working with one of my friends, and I always had the Bible app downloaded on my phone. And so I just open the app up, and I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to read and whatever. But I see for some reason, I chose to read Acts. And now, obviously, I didn't get all of the meaning behind the book of Acts because that's a very in-depth piece of scripture, but I read it like in one rotation of my night shift. I read the entire thing in 3 hours, and I was like, who is this guy named Saul, and who's this guy named Paul, and what are they talking about when they mean this? And I went back home, and I think I had a Bible. I think I had to go buy one. I don't remember. But so I went back home, and instead of getting wasted, I just started YouTubing, Googling, reading the Bible, reading Acts, and I was like, this makes sense. Like, why, who are all these people? I want to know more about who Saul of Tarsus is. And one thing led to another, and everybody in mainstream Christianity says read the Gospels. So I was like, okay, well, they're telling me to go read the Gospels. I'm already read Acts, so I'll just go back and I'll read the Gospels. And I go back and I read the Gospels, and me reading it was the first time that I ever figured out what sin was, what all of it means, what Christ did on the cross, and why we needed a Savior. And I did the mainstream Christian thing. I accepted Jesus Christ into my heart in my bedroom that I was renting from my friend that I was on duty with.
Wow. Okay. So you get saved there,
Yeah.
in your rented room after reading the Gospels.
Yeah. I kept reading, and then I found out about apologetics, and I already loved to argue with people. So like I was like, hey, apologetics seems like a good fit. I'll argue until my face turns blue. And and
no wonder you came into the Torah.
yeah, very. That was a big one too. But things were being explained that I didn't even have questions for. Things were being answered I didn't even know what to ask. And it taught me that, like, hey, if there's a beautiful piece of art on a wall, there has to be a creator for it. And it's just like what? Nobody ever talks about this. This wasn't talked about in my youth group. This wasn't talked about in the church that I was going to when I was going to church with my parents at youth group. It wasn't talked about with my parents. It wasn't talked about the church that I was going to with my girlfriend when we were having a difficult time before we broke up. And I was just like, I need to find out more about this. I need to learn as much about this as I possibly can, because everything that I've been doing isn't working, because I'm ending up drunk on the couch and my girlfriend just broke up with me. Something's wrong. So I went to YouTube Academy. Frank Turk, Vadi Bakum, J. Warner Wallace, just all the mainstream Christian preachers. And I don't want to discount or discredit what they've done, because if I would have never found them, I never would have followed it to a logical conclusion. So I was like, okay, well, my ex is a Christian, and I think I'm a Christian now. So this might come across a little stalkerish, but she was working at Chick-fil-A. I knew her work schedule, and and I had something that I needed to give to her. And I was like, hey, look, I really need to talk to you. And can we grab lunch sometime? And she very, very hesitantly says, okay, which I can completely understand. So we sit down, we start eating, and I was like, I am absolutely sorry. I didn't realize how much pressure I was putting on you for my happiness. I didn't realize that what I was doing in my drunkenness was hurting you. And I accepted the responsibility of my actions and the consequences of my actions. And I said, if you're willing, I'm willing to, if you're willing, I want to start over, but I want to do this the right way. 100% scripture, or so we thought as Christians, right? And she was starstruck. She didn't know what to say, and all she said was, I'll have to think about it. And a week or so goes by, and the pastor of our church reaches out and he wants to sit down and talk to me. So we set up Bible studies together and everything like that. And he goes back to her and says, like, I think his transformation is real. I think he does believe in Jesus, that he is a sinner and he's in need of a savior. And so she comes back to me and she says, okay, we're going to do this the right way. And so a couple of months goes by. I got nothing else better to do. I got to stand here with a rifle and watch people walk past. I'm handing out gospel tracts every time, like I'm on a break or a lunch. I'm reading my Bible. People are watching it. And I remember one guy, he pulls me aside and he's like, dude, I'm so happy for you. I was like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? And he goes, I was getting really worried about you there for a minute. I was like, why? He's like, you have no idea how bad your drinking was. You have no idea, like, how many times I had to cover for you because you were about to get in trouble. He's like, I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't know any of it. And like, looking back now, like, dude, why didn't you just say something sooner? You saw somebody stumbling and falling and you didn't say anything, and it could have been worse. But I don't hold it against him, because I probably would have just ripped his head off for questioning my alcoholism. But so I'm sharing the gospel with everyone on board. I'm using the Ray Comfort method, handing out gospel tracts. And I signed up for the Navy for a 4-year contract, and my contract's about to come up for a re-enlistment, or I can get out. And I was done with the Navy. I was done with the toxic environment, the chain of command, all of it. Just, I'm done. It's not worth my mental health.
What can you say about it? Can you say more about it? Why was it toxic? What was...
Okay.
You would hope that it was a nice, friendly environment for soldiers.
That's why I joined the military, because I wanted to have a brotherhood. I wanted to have brothers and sisters beside me that I could overcome and adapt and come over any challenge. But I think the special operations community, the way the military puts it is like, you can have a brotherhood, but the special operations community pushes that. And then when you join the regular military, it's not like that. It's not like that at all. If anyone has ever served in the military, I remember we got this was ridiculous. I remember there was a female. She was an MA2, so Master at Arms, Petty Officer, 2nd class. Or 3rd class, maybe. You get issued one Beretta M9. and you get 3 magazines that hold 21 rounds each. 1 in the gun, 2 magazines on your hip. Once you load up, you confirm that you have your 2 magazines and your 1 in the gun, and that you have 1 in the chamber. And she goes to her duty post, so she walks off the boat onto the pier, walks to the end of the pier, and that's her duty station for 3 hours until she comes back on and then rotates to another duty location. She comes back onto the ship, and after our full 12-hour shift, she goes to unload her firearm, which means we're downloading, we're taking the rounds out of the magazines, we're stowing the rounds, we're stowing the magazines, and we're stowing the firearm. She unloads her 2 magazines off her hip. She goes to put her gun or firearm into a clearing chamber. She goes to drop the magazine out of her firearm, and the magazine isn't even in her gun. So immediately the whole ship goes on to lockdown. Yeah, because we need to find these 21 rounds. And if you lose 1 round of ammunition in the Navy, you go up for what's called an NJP, and non-judicial punishment, which means they're kicking you out because you just lost a piece of equipment. She lost, probably 15. I can't remember how many rounds. But she lost an entire magazine. We were parked right next to another aircraft carrier. Not a security officer, another enlisted individual found her magazine, took it to their boat, and issued it to the security department and said, hey, I found this magazine. So our boat went into lockdown. Their boat went into lockdown. Well, it turns out her magazine was on this boat, so we had to send someone over to that boat to get her magazine and bring it back. And she should have went up to mast and gotten kicked out. Instead, they pulled her from the security department and put her in an admin position where she's on a 9-to-5 shift now. But my buddy, who, this is ridiculous, he downloaded his firearms properly, went home. He got home a lot faster than the rest of us did just because he was downloading his firearms faster. And we get a recall back to the boat. And well, he can't come in because he's gotten home and he's already started drinking. So now if he comes back to the boat, he's intoxicated on duty. So they said, oh, since you're technically not off of work yet, you've just been recalled, you're not following or obeying instruction, and that's a violation of Article 15 in the UCMJ. We're going to send you up to mast. You're going to go before the commanding officer of the aircraft carrier, and he is going to give you your punishment, which is 90-day restriction with extra duty. And they're going to take half of your month's pay times 2. Yep. So the way that they punish you is they take half of your pay for 2 months. Mm-hmm. So if you go up to NJP, you're looking at half month's pay times 2 plus 90-day restriction. Yeah. Imagine doing that when you have a wife or a kid or a girlfriend at home, and you have bills that you need to pay and so on and so forth, and now you're 2 months behind on bills, and they roasted him.
Do you think that it's a good idea for women to be in the military after seeing this?
Looking back, I would have said yes, but knowing what I know now and observing Torah, no. I don't think females are equipped to be in any military role at all. It's yeah.
Do you think that would have cleared up some of the working environment troubles?
Absolutely. 100%.
That's interesting.
Especially with the fraternization, like you guys, we're working with each other however many hours a day. So, and if that's not something that I need to worry about, yeah, it could have cleared up a whole lot.
Do you think you may still be in the military if women weren't in the military?
I haven't thought about that. Maybe. I don't know.
It's probably impossible to say. But
Yeah.
it sounds like there's a better chance of you still being there if they weren't.
Maybe, but I think anything that humans put their hands on and touch is a flawed, broken system, and of course there's flawed and broken systems everywhere because humans put their hands on it. But
it's impossible to look back and
yeah.
know. So what happened then? So it sounds like you're about to re-sign, and it sounds like you're not going to.
Oh, no. So they asked me, they're like, hey, are you going to re-enlist? And I said, I'll re-enlist if you guys send me to K9 handler school. And they're like, okay, we'll see what we can do. And so they come back to me. And at this point, I'm an unmotivated sailor, and I know it. Like, I'm done getting qualifications for you when I see how you treat others. Like, I'm just going to do the bare minimum. That's it. And so they come back to me and they're like, hey, if you get all these qualifications before it's time for you to re-enlist, we'll send you to K9 handler school. I was like, okay, bet. Like, you're going to give me something for me giving you something. Done. So I got all the qualifications, and I returned back to them. I'm verifying, hey, here's these qualifications that you wanted me qualified to. And they're like, yeah, we're not going to send you. I was like, okay, I'm getting out. Done. Bye.
Oh, so you always like working with dogs then?
I've always liked dogs, but seeing in the military working dogs, like, I was like, I want to be the cool guy with the dog. I want that job. Like, how do I have to get there? And it's not just a job that you can request. They said no, so I was like, okay, cool. I'm just going to get out then. I'm not going to waste any more time. And it was a very freeing feeling walking off the aircraft carrier with my DD-214. And it just felt like I was being let out of prison. And about that time, my dad got COVID. I hadn't heard from him. And I called his phone, and he didn't pick up. And I called again. And no pickup. And then finally my brother calls me out of the blue, who I haven't spoken to in a couple of years. And he says, hey, Dad's sick. He's in the hospital. And my mind went to the worst place, because it was all over the news. If you go to the hospital, you're dead. And so my brother sent me the contact information for the hospital. And I called the hospital and I was like, hey, I'm calling for Brian Hampton. And they said, okay, who are you? What's your relationship? I'm his son. I'm calling to talk to him. And they're like, well, he can't talk because he's on a respirator. And I was like, okay, cool. I don't care. Do what you have to do. Put the camera next to his bed. Let me just talk to him. Just whatever. Just let me see him. And before they could put the phone or the tablet down next to him, they had to verbally tell me, verbally give me a warning, like, you're not going to like what you see. I'm like, okay, I've seen worse. I can deal with it. They set the tablet down on the bedside table. I didn't know what to do except we're just going to read scripture. I'm going to read it to you because I believe that the Spirit can penetrate further than skin and bone. If you can hear it, I believe it'll save you. So I just start reading it, and I read for hours. Didn't care what I was reading out of scripture. I just started reading it to him. Just started Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I kept working. And nurse comes over and she tells me the tablet's about to die and she needs to take it and put it on a charger. I wake up the next morning and call the hospital, and a new nurse picks up, and I explain, hey, I'm calling to talk to Brian Hampton. And she's like, hang on a second. And I was like, okay. And a couple of minutes go by and she comes back on. She's like, who are you? And I was like, Matthew Hampton, I'm his son. She's like, I don't see any paperwork with you on it. I was like, I literally just talked to him last night. And she's like, I'm not supposed to do this. But she reconfirmed. She's like, your dad is Brian Hampton. I was like, yeah, I was literally talking to him last night. And she goes, he passed at 4:00 in the morning.
How old was he at that point?
57. I don't know. I can't remember. But so fast forward a couple of weeks, I'm talking to, or about 2 weeks, I'm talking to my pastor, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go to my dad's wake in California. So I pull in or drive into California. I get to my dad's house, and his wife and my brother are there with his girlfriend. And me and my dad's wife never really had a good relationship. When we visited the first time, I wasn't a big fan of her, and it might just be a personality conflict. I don't know, but I got to say hi to my brother, talk to him for a little bit, and meet his girlfriend. And the next day we were planning on going boogie boarding because my dad's originally from Chicago. So growing up as a kid in Chicago, like there's no boogie boarding. And when he moved out to California, like he would go boogie boarding all the time. And that's something that we did as kids a lot, growing up, and go to the beach, camping at the beach, boogie boarding, and then fishing at night. So we went boogie boarding and just got to spend time together doing what my dad loved to do, and just processing that grief together. And the day of the wake came. My brother, or my dad has 2 brothers and 1 sister. And they're all scattered throughout the country. I think one's in Texas, the other one's in Florida, the property management company I was working for after I graduated high school, and one in Washington, and his mom was living in Florida. One thing that I couldn't put together is, why are all of my dad's coworkers here and none of his family is? They FaceTimed to give a little speech at his wake, and then logged off shortly after that. My brother said his part, I said mine, and we kind of closed the wake out and said a prayer for him, and then the next day came and we were splitting up his belongings, personal belongings, and then I got his Bible, his NIV Bible. And so I started reading out of his Bible, because like I'm reading out of mine, I'll read out of his too. And my brother saw me reading his book, or his Bible, and he said, "You actually believe that stuff?" Yeah. I have no other explanation for why things happen the way that they happen, or any of it. And we got into this huge argument. We got into this big disagreement right there in front of my dad's widow and his fiance, and there's just been so much hurt and so much pain between the two of us that there's just it doesn't matter how logically I present what I believe to him, he's not going to listen to me. So I packed up and left my dad's house, and that was 2021, and I haven't talked to my brother since, and I haven't talked to his widow since. But I leave California, I come back to Virginia, and about that time I'm starting to run out of money. And so I start looking for jobs, and there's a company that I hear about that's hiring. And the company is called Black Triangle. And Black Triangle is a company that forges and fabricates non-metallic knives and daggers. And so I applied, I got the position, and
What are they made out of?
G10 material. So kind of think of like a reinforced fiberglass, or what's the name? They use it on cars now. It's I forget the
Carbon fiber?
Yeah,
or something?
yeah.
What's the point? Why not metal? To smuggle it on a plane, or?
So it's meant for you to be able to maintain self-protection in concerts or venues where there are no options for you to sneak in equipment for you to be able to defend yourself.
Okay.
And I liked the idea, and I was a hands-on guy, and why not? So I'm working there a couple of months, learning how to make holsters, sheaths, make the knives, wrap the knives, put handles on them, and everything like that. And I'm watching videos on YouTube of like working dogs biting people in suits and running and chasing people down. And my coworker is looking over my shoulder, and he's like, "You like working dogs or bite dogs and stuff like that?" And I was like, "Dude, yeah, it's freaking awesome. I tried to do it in the military and I couldn't, so I got out. And he's like, there's a school that you can go and do that, right? And I was like, dude, there's no way. He's like, no, look it up. There's a school that's 40 minutes away from here. Yeah. So I was like, okay. So I Google canine handler school near me, and lo and behold, there's a school 40 minutes away, like you said, and it's American Canine Interdictions. And I was like, oh, I want to go be a canine handler, because they accept the GI Bill, so I don't have to pay for any of it up front. My time in the military is going to pay for it. So I tell my girlfriend Sierra, because we're still not married, we're living separately, and I tell her I want to go to canine handler school and be a contractor. And she's like, go for it. So I email the school, and literally the same night that I sent that email, I get a call from the president of the school, Paul, and he's like, hey, I'm looking for Matt Hampton. We see that you're interested in attending AK9I. We have a spot opening June 3rd. Do you want it? I was like, yes, absolutely, yes. So get all the paperwork taken care of. June 3rd comes, day one of canine handler school. We had a little bit of a classroom lesson, introducing ourselves, what we want to do, and all that kind of stuff like that. And I remember the president of the school, Paul, he comes to me and he asks me, he's like, what do you want to do? And I tell him, I was like, I just want to be a canine handler, and wherever God takes me, he's going to take me. And he's like, I like that answer. I was like, good. I thought about it long and hard. And so they're like, okay, day 2 is going to be dog selection. We're going to bring out 10, 15, 20 dogs for everybody to look at, and you're going to select your dog from those dogs that we display. And then from what you select is the dog that you're going to get, train, and graduate with, and go into contracting with. Yeah, so the school provides the training, provides the certification, and provides the dog, and the dog goes home with you, and dog's yours, period. And I was like, I want a Belgian Malinois. Like, that is the only dog that I will pick, period. She's like, okay. And we prayed about it. Day 2 comes for dog selection, and everybody is picking the Belgian Malinois before I can even raise my hand, right? And they're showing a couple of German Shepherds, a couple of pit bulls and terriers and whatnot. And they're like, okay, that's all the dogs we're going to show. That's the selection of dogs that you have. And there were no more Malinois. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want any of these dogs. And I was like, man, I prayed about this. And I'm about to pick an all-black German Shepherd. And another instructor comes running out and he says, we have one more dog that we're going to show. And we don't know anything about him. He just got here last night. We don't know anything about him. So they bring him out. They walk around, the handler walks around the corner with him, and this dog is digging his nails into the concrete, digging his nails into the grass, just trying to get to this field, and no obedience, no control, all just animal, savage, just powerful. And as soon as I laid eyes on that dog, I said, that one's mine. And his name was Rocco, R-O-C-O. And I picked that dog. I told the instructor, I want that dog. And they're like, okay, dog is yours.
Was this a Belgian Malinois?
Belgian Malinois. Yep. 90-pound Belgian Malinois. He's on the bigger side. And And they're like, go home tonight or go back to your dorms. Think about what names you want to name your dog, or if you want to keep your dog name the same. So I go back home or go back to my dorm, and I've been reading the book of Judges. And my favorite judge is Samson. He's just this powerful brute that doesn't care about what anyone thinks, says, or does. He just does it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to name him Samson. Samson. And so I name him Samson. And day 3, we're supposed to be getting to know our dog, understand our dog, who our dog is, his characteristics, X, Y, and Z. So we go into a private room. There's 3 other students sitting in chairs along the wall. I bring my dog in, and he just picks up his ball and he lays on the ground and he doesn't even come back over. And I'm like, man, this guy doesn't even want anything to do with me. He doesn't care that if I have another ball, he has what he wants, and he does not need to interact with me at all. So we're going through school together. He's figuring me out. I'm figuring him out. We're learning how to communicate. We're learning how to search for bombs. We're learning how to search for firearms. And right before graduation, horribly timed, I proposed to Sierra in the middle of canine handler school. It's because the schoolhouse was only 40 minutes away from where she was at in Norfolk. So on the weekends, I would go drive and spend time with her and then go back to school Sunday evening. So I proposed to Sierra, and we planned this entire shotgun wedding just from the hip. Super simple, super cheap. We had one night of a honeymoon, and then I went back to canine handler school Sunday afternoon. And come September 3rd, me and Samson certified as explosive detection handler partners, or explosive detection dog. He's certified to detect up to 30 different types of explosive material, including firearms. And he's also certified to detect mobile odor. So mobile odor is when the odor of explosive material or firearms isn't stationary, it's moving. So if you think about at a sporting event, football game, basketball, whatever, concert, if me and my dog are searching people, if he catches a scent of something, he can follow that odor trail and lead me directly to the person or object that is carrying said explosive or said firearm. So we graduate, we're certified, and we hit the ground running. We start working for American Canine Interdictions as we would do school searches, assisting local law enforcement. And then we started working for another company called 3D K9. And we were doing concert venues, sporting events, Phillies games, Eagles games, you name it. We were doing it all up and down the East Coast. And me and Samson are 2 peas in a pod. We're getting each other figured out. And my wife is allergic to dogs. And she married a guy who wanted to be a canine handler dog trainer. So you can only imagine she suffers. She's like, oh, these dogs. And I was like, no, it's you. It's you. But yeah, contracting life was awesome. I was visiting different states, seeing different views, eating different food, spending time with my dog, working with my dog, training with my dog. And And it was just, couldn't say anything bad about it. And the work started to slow down. The contract started to disappear. We were moving into a slower season. We were moving into the winter time. And so I said, hey, like, if I want to continue doing this, I need to find something more permanent. And I didn't want to be a police officer, especially in this climate, seeing how toxic different leaderships can be. I don't want to put myself in that position again, ever. And so I start looking around for canine handler jobs and so on and so forth. And I find this organization called AIG, or Answers in Genesis. And they have a post for a canine handler job. And so I start researching AIG. I start researching Answers in Genesis, the Ark Encounter, the Creation Museum. So I prayed about it. I told my wife about it. And I was like, hey, I'm going to apply for this job. And she says, okay, go for it. So when I went to go apply for it, the listing was terminated. I was like, okay, cool. But don't even need to worry about it now. A couple of weeks later, as I'm looking for other canine handler jobs or contract work, I see the same posting from AIG again, canine handler position. And I was like, okay, somebody's telling me to do something, right? So I tell her again, I apply for the position, and within a couple of weeks, I'm out in Kentucky doing a board interview, firearms qualification course, and physical fitness test. On my way back to Virginia from Kentucky after the interview, they called me up and they offered me the position and asked me when I can start. I was like, I'll start January 1st. So January 1st, I go out, January 1st, 2022, I think it was, 2022. I go out ahead of my wife while she's wrapping up the miscellaneous stuff. And I get out there. I'm going through their on-the-job training and everything like that. And I get a call from my wife, and she is sobbing. And she had a miscarriage. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what to say. All I knew to do was just do my best to comfort her from where I was and just cry with her. So I told them that I had to stop the training and I had to go back to Virginia and bring my wife here to Kentucky. So just a week or so away, shy from having the training complete, I got my wife and moved to Kentucky. And we got out here to Kentucky, got an apartment, healing and processing the miscarriage, and then I move into the final training phase, which is their canine handler course, just so that way they can certify you with their dog. So I stay at the Ark Encounter, and I think it's an awesome opportunity to be a canine handler, which, hey, here's one part of my dream fulfilled, and I'm on the actual life-size replica of Noah's Ark. Like, how many people can say they were a canine handler on Noah's Ark? So a couple of months go by and the job's getting stagnant. Chain of commands starting to do what every chain of command does. Human beings are touching it. Human beings are involved with it. Some people are leaving. Some people are getting terminated. New people are coming in. Old people are leaving. And I fell into a depression. Just, man, this is all this job is. And the nail in the coffin. Me and the chain of command were already at ends. I was disagreeing with some of their standard operating procedures, and there were some others that were upset with their standard operating procedures. I just had a bigger mouth. I was the nail that stuck out. So I call my K9 supervisor and I say, I'm getting fired, aren't I? And he says, I don't know. I can't confirm anything at this time. I said, okay. And in the back of my head, I already knew it was coming. So they tell me to arrive Monday morning, 8 a.m. sharp to resume normal operations. Like, okay, cool. I'm going right back to work. And from now on, I'm not going to be the nail that sticks out. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I'm going to be a good little boy. And I get pulled into the chief's office. And there's a lady from HR sitting there. There's my K9 supervisor standing right here. And the assistant chief sitting right next to me. And they're like, you can either resign or we're going to terminate you. I'm like, okay, I'll resign. I'm on my way home. And my wife's at church doing like a prayer meeting. And I told her, like, yeah, I just got fired. I terminated, resignated, whatever you want to call it. And she was furious. Now, she didn't tell me this until a little bit later. But she was so angry, she couldn't pray. She couldn't do anything. She just said, Lord, I'm upset right now. I can't pray. I can't do any of it. I need to give this to you, and I need you to help my husband, and I need you to help me. And after sitting in silence for a couple of minutes, she hears a voice, and the voice said to her, I will prepare a feast in the face of his enemies. And she comes home. She doesn't tell me what she heard. She doesn't tell me what she prayed about. And a week passes, and I look at her saying, I want to start a dog training business. Don't know why. That's what I want to do. I feel like there's a miscommunication between people and dogs, and I want to start a dog training business. And she said, okay. And within a week, we were up and running. I called my K9 supervisor. I called him up, and I was like, hey, I need a mentor. And he's like, dude, I never thought I would hear from you again. And I was like, we didn't have any beef between you and me. It was just some other people. So he's helping mentor me along with my business. Like, I can train dogs. At this point, I can train dogs. Now it's time for me to learn how to train the people, train the dog owner, train the master. And so he's coaching me along. I'm building my business, Fallen K9. We have a website, dog training, and the Ark Encounter holds an annual canine conference every year. Me and Samson were the last ones to go, and we took first place. And we beat out 45 other law enforcement and canine handlers.
Wow, good job, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Did any of your old colleagues witness that at all? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
And then we won it a second year. And we beat 50 other officers. So we won it 2 years in a row, and this last year we took third place. So my wife's, the voice that my wife heard, and she told me this after, she's like, God told me he was going to prepare a feast, and prepare a feast he has. And she told me that, and I was like, yeah, he did. And so moving into Torah, we got invited to go to a friend's Shabbat dinner, and I had no idea what Shabbat meant. I had no idea. My wife had some idea because she was researching it, and she was super excited. And my first Shabbat dinner was I don't even know if Shabbat dinner is the right term, but our first Shabbat was just, I was like, wow, that's authenticity. And my wife loved it, I loved it, and I was just like, okay, cool. And I kept on doing the Christian thing. And my wife kept walking down that Torah path and asking those questions. And as I'm building my business and as I'm diving deeper into becoming a master trainer and furthering my education on dog training, and I'm working with clients and saying like, hey, you need to be consistent. If you don't do this every single day, or if you don't do this every other day, it's absolutely worthless. You can't train a dog to sit for 5 minutes a day and then work on it a month later. The dog isn't going to retain any information. So me telling my clients to be consistent was the biggest thing for me. And I also had to be consistent in my explosive detection training, in my obedience training with my dogs. And my wife, this was a punch in the gut. She looks at me and she says, "You're being inconsistent." I expected perfection from my dogs, even knowing that they weren't able to obtain perfection, and telling my clients, hey, you need to be consistent. And she points out to me and says, she points out John 14:15. If you love me, you'll keep my commandments. And she's like, it says it right here. If you love him, you're going to keep his commandments, and those commandments transfer over, keep going through the New Testament. They don't cease, they continue, because nowhere in Scripture does he say these end. And just because he died and rose again doesn't mean that you don't have to keep observing his instructions or laws or ordinances or whatever term you want to use. And like that was the real punch in the gut. Like, Yah has used this woman to say the perfect thing at the perfect time, to convict me, to show me, to teach me, to love me and to support me. And now that I see the error in my ways. It's crystal clear. This is right, this is wrong. And anyone who tells you different isn't operating under the authority of Scripture. And one thing that I like to point out is that when in dog training, if I train my explosive detection dog to a high standard, fascinating obedience, jaw-dropping obedience, jaw-dropping just performance, and I take those skills and I demonstrate it in front of somebody, someone's going to say, wow, that dog is phenomenal. Wow, that dog is obedient. That dog listens to you. It hangs on every word you say. Why is it wrong for me to hang on every instruction and every ordinance and law that Yah has put forth? And just because Yeshua was crucified and was dead and buried for 3 days and then rose again, that doesn't mean the ordinances and regulations and instructions stop. Because if I leave my dog at home for 3 days, and someone's watching him, feeding him, providing for his needs, and I come back after those 3 days, my dog still has to obey my instruction. My dog still has to observe my ordinances because you live under my kingdom. You live in my kingdom, and these are my rules that I have set forth. And if you choose not to do them, if you choose not to listen to them, there is no home for you. I don't want you here. And the reason why I'm now taking and showing people this, showing people Torah aspects, is because you'll see dogs that get chained up or put on a cable in the front yard. Obviously, they don't want that dog in their house because they haven't taken their Torah and put it on their dog's heart. If I'm a dog owner, I am given dominion over his creation. It's my responsibility as the priest of the household, the husband of the household, the leader of the household, to give this dog the instructions and orders of what to follow, when to follow, and how to follow. What you're allowed to eat and what you're not allowed to eat. And it's that simple. And the issue with dog training today is it's either positive reinforcement only, which means I don't punish or correct my dog. I don't tell my dog no, which is soft parent culture. Or it's your dog is a part of microbial or single-celled organism evolution. And it's taken 25 million years to get here. If it took 25 million years for my dog to get here, then there is no such thing as a creator. And then there is no laws and there is no instruction. But if there is a creator, there is law and there is instruction. And there is a godlessness in the dog training community. And I just want to put Yah back into that and show them that laws and ordinances do help in a household. Laws and ordinances are there to give us freedom. There is obedience in freedom. If, let's say I'm taking my dog for a walk, and my dog yanks and pulls on the leash, and every time I let my dog off the leash, he chases a squirrel. Do you think I'm going to let that dog off the leash again? No, absolutely not. I can't trust you. You're going to go chase that squirrel and you're going to run into the street and get hit by a car. But if I take the time to show my dog and train my dog and teach my dog, you're not allowed to chase this. This does not serve me well, and it does not serve you well. And I can let that dog off a leash. Now my dog can go sniff the grass and pee and poop on stuff. And I can call my dog, and my dog comes running to me because he knows that I am fulfilling his needs, fulfilling his desires, and relieving pressures for him. And that's another question that I ask all my clients is, dogs do 3 things, and what are those 3 things? Always fulfill a need, fulfill a desire, and relieve a pressure. Once you can figure out how to fulfill a need, fulfill a desire, and relieve a pressure, you can teach a dog to do just about freaking anything. Now, look at your own life, and what are you doing to fulfill a need, fulfill a desire, and relieve a pressure? Are you serving your needs? Are you serving your desires? Are you relieving your pressures? Or are you serving yaws? And just the incredible mirror image or reflection between a master and a servant. A master, or one who follows because he knows he will provide. I don't think there's anything else that will demonstrate a tactile. Here, there is nothing else on the face of the planet that demonstrates obedience like a dog. And we can take that obedience and we can make it tactile. We can make it visible. Because if a dog is willing to serve his master, the dog will do anything. There are dogs that I've seen run into dark rooms not knowing what's on the other side in service of the master because my master said so. Are we willing to run into a dark room? Are we willing to run into the unknown? Are we willing to step forth? Are we willing to say, I am here, I am ready to serve? And I know that every time I grab my dog's leash off the hook next to my front door, he knows that we're going out and we're doing something. We might just be going out and going pee. But he gets up with such enthusiasm and vigor. There's no comparison.
I have a question for you here.
Yeah.
So it seems like you've learned a lot of lessons, like Bible lessons from your dogs.
My dog has taught me more about myself and my relationships with human beings than human beings have taught me.
Are there any other lessons you've taken from the relationship with your dog about God, Yah, and your relationship with him?
So we covered the obedience brings freedom, right? But I don't tell my dog why you're not allowed to do this. I don't tell my dog why you're not allowed to eat chocolate off the floor. I just tell him no. Yah has given us a list of instructions, or a list that says, these are the things that you're allowed to eat, and these are the things you're not. I don't need to tell you why. I said don't do it. If I told my dog, you're not allowed to snatch cheese sticks out of my son's hand. Why? Because it hurts his hand. I don't need to tell you the why. You just need to understand that you're not allowed to do it, and if you do it, there are consequences to your decision. If you choose to do something else, like go eat your kibble, good things will happen. If you choose not to, bad things will happen. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. That's a good insight.
Because I really fail to understand why laws are bad. I fail to understand why instructions are bad when people give their dogs instructions, give their kids instructions, give their spouse instructions. This is what you're allowed to do and this is what you're not allowed to do. We set laws every day and we follow laws every day. I followed 2 hours worth of laws and then some on my way up here. So, yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's more helpful to have instructions than it is to not, because you can avoid things that could hurt you and you can do things that can help you. So it makes sense.
Yep. And for an individual like me, if I had been, I can't 100% say this with certainty, but if someone would have showed me like, hey, these are the laws and expectations that we have forth, who knows where I would be. Because my entire experience with Christianity from an early age up until choosing to follow his instructions, follow his law, has been lawlessness. It's been me serving myself. It's been me fulfilling my needs. It's been me fulfilling my desires and relieving pressures. I'm not letting my master Adonai do it. And any dog that chooses to serve himself, I don't want to deal with. Right? Any human that chooses to serve himself, Yah doesn't want a part of.
Seeing this parallel between the instructions you give your dogs and the instructions that Yah gives us, after you came into the Torah or you understood that the law still is relevant, did you have more respect for Yah? And also, do you feel like you had more respect for yourself?
Yeah. That's another good question. When I didn't make this discovery, there's nothing new on the face of the earth. His instructions have been since time began, and when I chose to start following his instructions, Adonai's instructions, the light bulb went off and everything is clear now. It's a clarity, it's a communication. So when I'm training a dog, and if I put too many expectations in front of the dog is going to get lost in translation. I don't know what you want from me. I'm done. Right? And the dog is going to go run off and do whatever it wants to do. Right? Eat poop, pee on grass, eat its vomit, whatever. Right? But if I give it one task to complete and I show it that task, right? And then I show it the next task and then I show it the next task, it becomes, oh, okay, this is what you want me to do. This is what you want me to do. This is what you want me to do. Now there is a level of expected behavior and the dog understands. The same thing with humans. I have taken my Torah and I have put it on their hearts, and this is how I want them to obey and worship me and love me. That's it. He's given you the instructions. We only choose to observe 9. Or Christians only choose to observe 9. And
having those blatant instructions or straightforward black and white instructions does seem to be more helpful to us than just the phrase, be a good person. And I think that is what leads to a lot of confusion over people thinking whether they're saved or not. They're like, I am a good person. But by what standard and metric?
Yep.
And so giving the instructions of this is what a person is supposed to do, this is what a person is not supposed to do, I think is the only way that we can have a clear understanding of whether we are a good person, whether we are following the instructions of Yah. So I see that parallel too.
Yeah, absolutely. And every human being is going to fail or fall short of those instructions multiple times. Now, when I tell my dog to sit and he doesn't sit, he is failing those instructions as well. It's going to happen, and that's where Yeshua steps in. But yeah.
I may have another one for you.
Go ahead.
So moving into just kind of dog advice for people, if we can for a moment, because I think that sounds like we brought you up to present day.
Yep.
Okay. Then if you could tell people with a dog just a few pointers that you've learned in training, what would those be? Maybe, I don't know.
Honestly, I have no idea where to start. So, because like there's so many prevalent issues with dogs, like, so we'll just start with leash pulling, because leash pulling is like the biggest one. Like you got a dog, so that way you can develop a relationship with your dog and establish dominion over your dog, and something you can have adventures with and go out and do stuff with, right? But if you can't even put your dog on a leash and walk your dog, there's no fun in it. You're just fighting the dog the entire time. So I'm what's called a balanced trainer. A balanced trainer uses tools, e-collars, prong collars, the entirety of the training matrix, which is positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, positive punishment, negative punishment. So being a balanced trainer, depending on what size dog you're working with, depending on how prey drivey they are, I would suggest you're going to get a treat pouch. You're going to fill it with your dog's kibble. You're going to take your leash. You're going to clip your leash into your dog's collar, and you're going to make sure that your dog's collar is tight enough just to where you can slip a finger or two under the collar. Because a lot of times I see a lot of loose collars, and dog will slip a collar and dog's gone. So make sure your collars are properly fitted. Once that's fitted, you're going to stand. This is going to sound ridiculous. You're going to stand in front of your dog, and every time your dog looks at you, you're going to say yes and give him a treat. Every time your dog makes eye contact with you, yes, treat, yes, treat, yes, treat. Now what you're doing is you're creating a classically conditioned behavior. You're showing the dog every time you look at me, you activate something. Right? So every time you look at me, food happens. You look at me, food. You look at me, food. Right? And then what you're going to do is you're going to take 5 steps inside, and if your dog starts pulling on the leash, you're going to stop. And once they stop and turn and look at you, you're going to say yes and treat. Yes and treat. So you're showing them that whenever you stop, they need to stop too, and they need to look at you. Now there's a whole bunch of different methods that we can go with for different dogs, different size dogs, and different breeds. What are some common issues? Are you having any issues with any of your dogs?
No, because I don't really interact with them much.
Okay.
I mean, my 2 dogs are out in the field with sheep, and that they just do their job all the time. And they come and they're friendly enough when I feed them, and then they live out there winter and summer. Yeah. And they seem to enjoy it. I have no need to train them. You know, I don't need to take them around on a leash because I need them there to guard.
Yeah, livestock. Yeah.
Yeah. So but I was just curious because a lot of people do have dogs and they want to, you know, they want them to obey. And I've seen a lot of dogs that don't obey. I guess I do have one question because my friend and his buddy have a place together. You know, they're just for money's sake. And he has 2 dogs and the guy that moved in has a dog, Coco. She's like the girl. And the 2 boys, they're calm and normal seeming, and Coco's crazy and attacks them all the time. And the owner of Coco just says, "Oh, she's in heat. She, or this reason or that reason," but he doesn't really do anything to stop her. What would you do in a scenario like that?
So, do you know who was where before? Did Coco and their owner move in, or were they there first?
Yeah, Coco and the owner moved in, and my buddy and his 2 dogs that are just kind of calm. They play together normal most of the time, but sometimes Coco will just bite them and she'll go too far.
Okay.
They don't retaliate, really. She's just sort of being an overlord.
Okay. So now I can't give a 100% answer just because I'm not seeing the behavior firsthand. I'm taking it third hand. First thing I would do, I would see if it's a reactivity issue. If it's a reactivity issue, then there's different avenues that we need to take. If it's not a reactivity issue, which it sounds like she just plays too rough, if she's playing too rough, what I would do is I would put a leash on the dog, because that's one misconception a lot of people have is like when they get a new dog, they just let it roam free in the house. I wouldn't use a prong collar just yet. I would take, since the dog is new in the environment, we're coming into a new home, we need to establish a new set of rules, a new set of boundaries, a new set of instructions. Put a leash on the dog, and you're going to take your leash and you're going to cut the handle off the leash. You're going to leave the leash on the dog, so that way the dog has the freedom to walk around the house while you maintain supervision intermittently. And if the dog starts doing something that you don't approve of or want, eating out of the trash, starting another fight, you're going to grab the leash and you're going to provide a physical correction on the collar, because the last thing that we want to do is whenever the dogs start getting tangled up and fighting, is the last thing we want to do is run in and grab the dog, because the dog's going to be like, oh, now we're playing chase. Now we're playing catch me if you can. I'm not playing catch you if I can, okay? You're going to walk over, grab the leash, pick up the leash, pop. And it's not a pull, because a lot of people have a tendency to pull on the leash. It's a quick pop on the leash, no, and then lead the dog to a different direction where you want them to go. There's a lot more to it than I make it sound, but that's the simplest version.
It's some kind of corrective action.
Yeah. You can even use a prong collar or an e-collar, but if you're gonna use an e-collar, don't go on Amazon and buy a $40 e-collar. You're going to go to e-collar technologies, you're going to buy their ET300, and it runs about $180. You might be able to find it cheaper on Facebook Marketplace. Great collars. I use them for both of my dogs.
And why are they better than the $40 collar?
Just because a lot of times the $40 collars have issues with the connectivity, or sometimes there's an issue with the prongs meeting with the skin that is able to provide the shock, because if you have one connecting and not two, you're not getting any stimulation. So you need to make sure that both are making that connection. And the thing I like about the e-collar technologies is literally the ease of use. With some of the $40 options off of Amazon, you have to press multiple buttons to change the level. With my e-collar technologies, I spin a dial, and within half a second, I can go from a level 5 to a level 100. So I can change the variation in which my stimulation is being provided a lot quicker than pressing a button to go up.
Yeah. Okay.
So a lot more ergonomical.
Okay, I guess I do have a question for you now that we're on this.
Okay.
Question the part. This is like the dog Q&A part.
Yeah, send it.
So, okay, I have the dogs bark sometimes at night. Yeah. And on one hand, I want them to keep away coyotes.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, I don't want my neighbors to hate me. So if they're barking forever, I don't think that should be, they shouldn't do that. So sometimes I've put like bark collar on them. And it'll work, but they usually die. I've probably gotten the $40 Amazon ones.
Yeah.
They will die. Would you go with the e-collar technology for just a bark collar that will like vibrate them and then shock them? Do they have a version of that?
First off, me personally, I would let your neighbors hate you. Because if you're in an area where you need livestock guardians, you need them to fulfill the tasks and job to which you have given them. Okay? So if your neighbors hate you, it's a free country. Go ahead and move. But if you notice the barking is incessant, and it's every night, and you can confirm to the best of your ability that there are no predators, then we need to figure out what's going on, what's causing the behavior. Because the dog is barking to relieve a pressure or to fulfill a need or fulfill a desire. We need to figure out which of those three it is, so that way we can address it as such. If it is coyotes, he's doing it to probably relieve a pressure. Hey, get away from my property. I will tear you to shreds if you come over here, which scares off more predators, right? But if he's like, Dad, trying to get your attention like a toddler, we need to address that as well. So, depending on which it is a route that I have multiple answers for.
What if he is trying to get my attention, but I can't go out there or something? How would you sort that out?
So it sounds like, and it's almost every night or every night?
No, actually, it's not that bad now.
Okay.
But for a while it was. But if I go out and I say, hey, it's all right.
Okay, so there it is.
Then he stops.
Okay. So, here's what I love about dog training and behavior and human psychology and all of it, is the dog is performing a behavior, right? He is continuing to perform the behavior because every time he continues to perform the behavior, you've come out and said something. So he's like, oh, he hasn't come out in 20 minutes and said something. I'm going to go for 21 minutes. I'm going to go for 22 minutes. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. And then you come out and say something, and then he stops. He just trained you to perform a behavior off of his behavior.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
He just fulfilled a need or fulfilled a desire by getting you to come out and do something for him.
He wants interaction. He wants... Okay. So if I stop doing that, then he might stop.
So after time, yes. So there's what's called an extinction burst. So whenever the dog is performing a behavior, right? We'll use your example. You don't go out and say hi, and you take off the bark collar, right? You're going to notice that over time, because you have gone out and reinforced him, when he does it, you have upped the likelihood of him performing the behavior more. So now instead of being down here when you could have squashed it in a week or two, he's going to continue to bark for hours and hours because he thinks that every bark is going to get you to come out. And that's going to go up and up and up and up and up and up, and it's going to get more and more and more incessant, and then after that, it'll drop off. Because he's discovered, man, I have put every bit of my being into this to get Dad to come out and say something, but he's not, so I give up.
Sad, but
Yeah.
I guess I just need to come out at other times when he's not doing that.
Well, completely ignore it. Whenever I have a board and train or one of my dogs, I completely ignore the behavior. I'm not going to acknowledge your behavior because it's not something that I tolerate. And after, depending on the dog, depending on the intensity, depending on the drive and other characteristics, it's 3 days to a week. Some dogs will take it out a lot longer. It depends on the dog and depends on the characteristic. And just like every single human being on the face of the planet, every single dog is different. No two dogs are the same. Each one has different drives and characteristics and desires.
Everybody and dog has their own. Well, do you have any other bits of advice for people? And then I'll ask you where people can find you.
If you have a cable and your dog is on a cable in your front yard, get rid of the cable. Because if you are going to continue to cable your dog in your front yard, you are not taking responsibility for the dominion that you have been given over that creation. I have literally seen dogs on cables dig out ruts in people's front yards, backyards. And I think you saw it when you were at the ruckus. Like, people will put signs out like, "Dog is stupid. Ignore dog." And it's just like, you have no idea if that dog is really stupid. You just don't want to take the time to develop a relationship with it and show it what to do, how to do it, when to do it. Take your dog off a cable. Establish dominion. Show your dog how you want your dog to live. Show your dog your ordinances, your instructions. And dog training boils down to this. If you can figure this out, you can figure anything out. Reinforce the behaviors you want, correct the behaviors you don't. Simple as that. Same thing with raising a toddler. I have a 2-year-old. If I don't want my toddler to rip everything out of the trash can, I'm going to tell him no and spank him. If I want my toddler to eat all of his food and he does, I'm going to praise him and tell him what a good job he did. It's the same thing. Do this, don't do this. And once you have an idea of what you want in your mind, then you put the Torah on the dog's heart. You put your Torah, your instruction on your dog's heart. Now, once you figure out what you want your dog to do and what you don't want your dog to do, you need to stay as consistent as the Torah. Don't flip-flop. If you don't want your dog to eat out of the trash can and you tell him no one day, and then the next day you catch him eating out of the trash can, and you just let him do it, oh, whatever, I give up. Your dog just won, and now the next time you go to eat, he goes to eat out of the trash can and you tell him no, he's going to be like, okay, loser. You let me do it last time. Does that answer it?
Yeah, that's great. Well, I may have 2 other questions for you, actually. Sorry,
yeah, go for it.
I thought I'd just ask where people can find you, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So what made you originally interested in dogs at all? Can you think back to, was it when you were a kid? Did you notice something? Why was this something?
like I said, we had dogs growing up. My time in the military, seeing a military working dog, I was just like, I want to be that guy. I want the guy with the cool dog. I want that. And yeah, I got the cool dog. And through time, through suffering, through learning, through working with my dog and seeing how my dog learns, like, I wish I could put into perspective that when I can tell what my dog is about to do or what he might do just by the flick of his tail. I can tell what my dog is about to do just by the way he looks back at me. My dog can tell what I'm about to do based off of how I position my body. My dog can tell just through little nuances and behaviors he has watched me do over the course of 5 years. And I know him through and through, and he knows me through and through. And like, they're perfect. There's a whole nother aspect. I know my dog through and through, and as master, right? The master knows me through and through. He knows what I need, when I need it, how I need it, and so on and so forth. He knows what I'm going to do before I even do it because he knows me better than I know myself. And like, I just learned that just now. I just thought of that right now.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Still a couple more.
Go ahead.
Max, my son, has said that he'd like to teach the dogs to sit.
Okay.
What would you do in that situation? How would you teach the... They're nice. They'll you can feed them. Whenever he goes out, they run out to him. He can already pet them. They'll just walk with him.
Okay.
So they kind of listen already, but they don't obey any commands. Mm-hmm. What would you start with? How would you start that?
Okay. So just like how we were talking earlier about getting your dog to pay attention to you, your dog looks at you, you say yes and give him a treat. So do they eat kibble or what kind of?
Yeah, we either give them like raw chicken or kibble.
Okay.
What kind of kibble?
So what you can do is you can just take some of their kibble, put it in a treat pouch, and you're just going to say yes every time they look at you and give them a treat. And then what you're going to do after 2, 3, 4 days of that, the more repetitions you have, the more consistent you are, the quicker the dog is going to make the connection like, oh, if I do this, I get this. Ooh, jackpot. So once your dog understands that, you can take a handful of his kibble, you're going to put it out to his nose, and once you put the kibble to his nose, here's the fascinating thing about dogs. Dogs are created the way that they're created, but they can't look up. So in order for a dog to be able to look up, they have to drop their butt to the ground so they can look up. So I'm going to take the kibble that the dog wants, that I've established, that I've shown the dog, hey, if you want this, you have to do something for it, right? So I put the kibble to the dog's nose, I slowly lift my hand, the dog's head is only going to go up so far, and if the dog wants the kibble, is driven enough to get it, then the dog's going to drop its butt and then it can go up. And as soon as the dog's butt hits the ground, you say yes and give the dog the kibble. And you repeat the process. But you're not going to say sit, because I can't correct a dog or tell a dog no for an instruction or something that they don't understand. And keep repeating that same exact process. And make sure you're positioned the same time or the same way every single time. Because now we're building repetitions. And every time the dog sees your hand, the dog's going to be like, I know what we're doing. I know this. done it 15 times before. I've done it 45 times. I've done this 100 times. Oh, I can do this with my eyes closed. Now, once the dog understands it to that level, then you can start saying sit and lifting your hand at the same time. And then you mark and reward.
Well, where can people find you now online? Like what website or whatever do you have?
So we announced this at the Ruckus. We did a whole rebrand. I started Fallen K9 with the aspect of we are all fallen. We're all part of fallen creation. And yes, that is still valid. But coming to Torah and following his instructions, we are a new creation. And that creation is Kelev K9 Training. We don't have a website yet. We just have a Facebook. So you can find us at Kelev K9 Training.
Can you spell that for us?
Kelev, K, the number 9, Training, Trainning.
Who should reach out to you? Who should work with you? Like what do you teach the most? Do you teach bomb detection and that sort of thing, or you don't go that deep with most people?
So we do in-home one-on-one private training with dog owners. I do want to get to a point where we can put some sort of course together so that way people can pay for a course. They can literally learn how to train their own dog in their own home anywhere in the country. Actually, we just sent off this morning a rough draft of a book we're writing. My son loves to read books, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna write a book. So I'm writing a kid's book based on obedience, but the main character in it is my dog Samson. And I'm going to leave that at that, so that way when it comes out, it's more exciting. That's
cool. People might be interested in that. So whenever it comes out, put it in the comments of this video.
Yep, absolutely. And then I also just ordered brand new material to make leashes and collars. It's not leather, it's not any fabric material, it's called biothane. I absolutely 100% recommend biothane. So it's a reinforced PVC leash. I absolutely love them because if my dog drags their leash through poop or mud or pee, I can take a wet paper towel and wipe it off, and it doesn't stink, it doesn't smell, and it wipes off and cleans.
That's great.
Oh, yeah, I love them. Kelev K9 Training on Facebook. We're located in Northern Kentucky. We serve all of Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati, Indiana area. And if anybody wants us to come out and do a canine demo, where we demonstrate bite work with Mercy, where we demonstrate explosive detection with Samson, and the extreme obedience that they have all been trained to, we didn't charge the Refuge Ruckus a dime, and we're not going to charge anybody else a dime, because the rules and instructions were given to us, or given to me, free, and we're going to give all of that away for free, and I'm never going to charge a dime for it. So we will go anywhere in the United States to do canine demos.
Okay, you do. So the demos you do for free?
Absolutely.
Wow, that's cool.
Yep.
Well, man, thank you. I know there's way more we could talk about, but I think this has been an informative ride through your life and the cool parallels between being a obedience dog trainer and learning obedience to Yah. It's really cool.
I couldn't believe it when I saw it, and then when I did, it was just like, wow.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for your time, Matt. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, my pleasure.